What it do? Krispy Kreme. Now, for those who might not already be knowing, this channel is a safe space for anyone of the Avatar Last Airbender fan base. Um, this is not a safe space for those blue niggas. We don't care about them blue niggas. Long story short, recently the Avatar movie that was supposed to come out in October, but which got leaked on Twitter, finally came out officially. So I got my Paramount subscription and I watched the movie. I think I did it I want to say at the time of recording this video, I want to say 3 to 4 days ago. Now, let me tell you, freak fiction is what it is. I know that my neighbors are going to hate me this video because there might be a couple of times where I'm basically raising my voice to such octaves and levels that even isn't unnormal for me. Like the little scream that I just did, oh my lord, it was crazy. But honestly, considering what I do and don't like about the movie, I think it's good to start off with what I don't like, unironically. I have so much good to say about this movie that I decided, hey, let me just save the good for last. And at this point, just say the things that I don't like the movie just right here and just call it a day. So that's what we're going to do. So let's start off with the art style change. Now, a lot of you might be wondering, Dev, why out of all things you don't like, it's the art style change? And I'm going to be able to tell you something right now. It's not because it was a necessarily bad art style, but I think that there were some ethnic features about the Avatar cast that were unfortunately not really shown to the highest degree / highest ability. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about / don't know what I mean, the editor Dev, if you're actually a good editor, you're going to put side by side photos of a Katara. Now, I get that they're aged up, but why doesn't she have a nose? I know sounds like nitpicking, but that's because it is. I think that the recent Avatar movie and a lot of Avatar media as this time as it stands right now, besides, like the original show, is dealing with an over anime feel, if that makes sense. If any of you has watched the Voltron series by any chance, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The Avatar gang or Avatar gang, the Aang gang, Team Avatar, they don't look like, I'm not going to say they don't look like Avatar characters, but for something that I've noticed is that for almost every other side character, for even the main villain, which I will get into in a second when I'm talking about the pros of this movie, and just other aspects of the characters, I'm starting to see that there's a little bit of physical mischaracterization, if you know what I mean. Not in the aspect of like, oh, this isn't getting the character right, but they have been, for lack of a better term, moeified. Which, if you don't know what that is, just be glad that you're not as chronically online as I am. But essentially, all it is that it's just trying to make them look a little bit too anime-esque, make them look a little bit too, for lack of a better term, perfect, and they're kind of removing some of the ethnic features of native characters, because we gotta remember that these water tribe attendees, I said attendees because I can't really think of any other word right now, the people of the water tribe like Sokka and Katara, they're part of a more ethnic group. That's why their noses were so distinct in the original series. Once again, this is a nitpick, but it's still something I think about to this day. A lot of you might also be wondering, well, Devin, if that's your only gripe, surely this movie isn't going to be too bad then, right? It wasn't too bad. If you asked me personally, I personally would have rated this movie, I would say maybe a solid 7, maybe 8 out of 10. And it's going to get into the reasons for, or the reason why it's not a 10 is going to be for the other reason I'm going to mention, is my issues with the internal conflict. I felt like that the aspect of Aang not being able to see through people, specifically see through people's bullshit, isn't necessarily something that I don't agree with, because that is something that is damn near integral to his character. At heart, he is a naive little boy who at the end of the day likes to see the good in people. And as his role of the Avatar, he attempts to make sure that everyone has a fair shot at redemption if they did bad, and if they don't do bad, that they won't do him wrong. or at the very least not wrong to the scale that we eventually seen in the movie. Let me just break down exactly like my general gripes about the internal conflict of the movie. Not necessarily that it was a bad conflict, but I'm kind of a little interested. I'm a little curious on why they decided to handle it the way that they did. They try to make it seem that Aang could basically bring back the airbenders, which in turn is very true. He could have done that, right? With the staff that we've seen in the movie. Now, the terminology that I'm trying to remember isn't the greatest, so you're gonna have to give me a little bit of slack here. But for the most part, that's what we've seen. And one of the main things that I always was kind of curious about was in the original Avatar series when I was a child was, are you able to give somebody bending? Like, is that a possible thing? Right? Now, I don't remember if it was ever explored in Korra, but I know for a fact that it's at the very minimum explored here. That airbender staff that was made from the Avatar, what was her name? I feel bad because I forgot her name, but it was a really beautiful air nomad avatar that was shown in the movie and from one of the previous lives of the Avatar and whatnot. That staff was able to give people airbending, including Togok. I think that's how you pronounce it. Togok or Togok? Togok. If I'm butchering it, y'all gonna have to y'all gonna have to correct me in the comment section. The fact that he was given that means that unironically an entire subplot of Korra could have been avoided if Aang decided to keep the staff around. But unfortunately, he knows that why he couldn't have done that, because at the end of the day, at the end of the movie, we couldn't really have that nigga Togok just running around. I ain't gonna lie to you. And I feel like that's kind of my biggest issue, is that we're dealing with another Magneto situation. Now, if you don't know what I mean, I know that Avatar fans don't actually read anything else half the time or watch anything else half the time, so they probably might actually not know who the fuck Magneto is. But on the off chance that you don't know Magneto and you do watch other things, let me give you a quick little rundown. Magneto is one of the main antagonists for the X-Men series. If you don't know about X-Men, I don't know what to tell you, nigga. It's a superhero series that follows a group of mutants, nigga. I don't know what else to tell you. Magneto being one of the mutants who can control metal. And during this time, he basically went during the approach of basically going for self-defense of mutant kind. Now, the reason why this is important is because Togok has the exact same mindset about the airbenders. In his time, the airbenders were wiped out by the earthbenders, and in Aang's time, the airbenders were wiped out by the Fire Nation. So it's very important to notice the similarities between both of their stories. I think that Togok is just Magneto but for airbenders, which, don't get me wrong, it's not a bad writing choice, it's just a repetitive one. I've seen this happen too many times. Not saying like that, and that's why I feel like this is another gripe. It feels like it's another nitpick. That's why I try not to read too deep into that, but it's very much impossible for me to do so. And I think what makes matters worse with this guy is that in most interpretations of Magneto, he's not trying to genocide the entire non-mutant population, or at least for the most part he isn't. But this is what Togok is basically attempting to do. Anyone who's not an airbender, he's basically trying to get rid of them niggas, which realistically, if he won his fight against Aang, nobody was going to be able to stop him. So he could have done it. And while I don't think that the story would have progressed if he wasn't that way, I think the issue is that I'm not saying it's a cop-out story, but it kind of feels like one. Because I know that this wasn't the exact same writing team for the movie and that we've seen in the show, but I do know that there has been more morally gray stories that we have seen the Avatar series given to us, not even just in the original series, but also in Korra. So I'm a little disappointed that they weren't able to layer this a bit more than it already was. Or maybe it's one of those situations where I might need to rewatch the movie just to make sure I'm understanding completely why he was thinking the way that he was thinking. Because don't get me wrong, I do understand to a certain extent. If right now in America, for some reason, most of black Americans were just wiped out and I was the last nigga left, I would be pretty mad too. Realistically, I'd probably be on the same time as he is if I was able to figure out how to bring my people back, and not only do that, make sure it never happens again by wiping out everybody else. Respectfully, that's not a ridiculous claim to do. I would do the same shit. I'm gonna be honest with you. So I don't think that's a ridiculous claim morally. Most humans are doing that. It's just more of, I think we've seen this trope happen too many times. We've seen it in One Piece when it came to Arlong. We've seen it in Magneto's X-Men. We've seen it happen a little too many times to the point where I'm not necessarily impressed at it. It just feels like an excuse to write in a villain that happens to be of the same ethnic background in this specific case of the main character. But to be fair, that's really all I have bad to say about the movie. Well, I lied. I don't like the dialogue, but that's a nitpick as well. But besides the dialogue and the other two factors that I just listed out for you guys, I don't really think that this movie was necessarily bad at all. I think that I'm seeing two different opposite ends of the spectrum when it comes to giving a fair critique of the Avatar Aang movie. It's on one side of the story, it's, yo, this is some of the worst character writing that I've seen for Avatar Aang or for the team Avatar in ages. While the other side is basically, yo, I think they did a really good job. And I really personally would love to see them do this shit again, / I would really love to see them be able to flesh out more if possible, but we can all tell this is the end of the story. Where I lay on that spectrum is I lay kind of closer to this side, honestly. Like, I think this is a really great movie, genuinely. I think that, let's just start off with the animation. Nigga, this shit is fucking crazy. Mind you, I don't think that we've seen Avatar animation be this good for any matter of fact, fuck all that. I haven't seen animation this good in anime or animated projects in a very long time. And I'm not talking about them old flashy ass effects that Demon Slayer be doing. Niggas be getting y'all with the fucking lightings and random flash and sparks and shit. Niggas don't be thinking that I know and I can see through all the bullshit. Demon Slayer isn't that crazy when it comes to animation, and I need you niggas to realize this before it starts to get into crazy conversations in terms of what's the best animated manga or best animated anime of all time, because Fate Stay Night still clears Demon Slayer to this day. Even though it's made by the same niggas, it has the same techniques, but they still do it better. The movements still be more fluid, and that's exactly my point here. The Avatar Aang movie has very fluid animation, right? This has some of the best effects animation that I've seen in a while. A lot of the projectiles that we see from firebending from Zuko, or even just the Avatar state of how much it was used, and just the airbending that was used from Aang and Togok the entire fucking movie, it was very refreshing to see. Because in a lot of animation recently, it seems that a lot of animators, whether it's due to budgeting concerns or something else, they're not able to really put their step forward when it comes to really putting in pain with the extra effects and things of that nature. I think that's one of the things that I liked the most about this movie. It had some of the most stellar animation, some of the most beautiful backgrounds that we've seen, and generally just, I feel like that it makes me inspired as an artist again. Unironically, Avatar series, the original Avatar The Last Airbender series, was kind of the reason why I ever started drawing or even engaging in art the way that I do now. It's one of those series that I watched as a kid, but then I rewatched a lot as a teenager, and then by extension an adult when I got to college, and I realized just how great of a series this was, not only from a writing standpoint, just from an art standpoint. And I want to trace it back from the Avatar Last Airbender series, and by extension Teen Titans as well. I think those were two series that really drove it home for me to want to even start drawing on my own. Of course, Pokemon and Dragon Ball had a factor in that too, but at least from Western influences, these were my bread and butter. And I feel like this movie reinforces that for me. It makes me want to get back into the studio. Like, y'all been watching this channel long enough. Y'all know I got the iPad ready with a bunch of sketches I ain't finished and a bunch of reference photos in my Pinterest folder that I'm probably not going to use until like 2 years later from now. And I know for a fact that this movie is helping me pick up the Apple Pencil just a little bit faster so I can get back to it. I do think that one thing or one part of this movie that's severely slept on would have to be just generally some of the character writing. Like, I think that it unironically, like, if you were to try to watch this series in chronological order, I genuinely think that it actually does surface as the best precursor to Korra that one could ask for. Because not only does it bridge the gap in between, it actually gives a lot of unintentional context for why some of the characters later in the series even act the way that they do. And I think that generally how Korra and by extension, I said Korra, Katara, and by extension Aang and Katara's kids, about Boomy and all them folks. I think their interactions with Korra, but kind of makes a bit more sense now, if that makes a little bit more sense. And I think it also makes more sense why Toph's kids are the way that they are. If their dad is just some guy, it makes total sense because not saying that she was always known to like not really be tied down and be a free-spirited person because she was that, but I think this movie kind of already reinforced that, even though I don't like how much dialogue some of the side characters didn't get. I don't like how much Zuko didn't get. I don't like how much Toph didn't get. I don't like how much Katara and Sokka didn't get. But I think that's also a nitpick because going into this movie, you knew it was going to be about Aang. You knew it was going to be about Aang, which don't get me wrong, they did the same in the original series. But I feel like that a lot of the side characters that we know and love didn't really get the shine that they did in this movie. I don't feel like Sokka, it was kind of like, here, nigga, if that makes sense. That's how it feels. Like for like I'm a Sokka fanboy if you couldn't tell by now, but for like the Sokka and Zuko and like and just the whole team avatars basically role in the movie basically being slipped as like y'all just accessories to Aang, if we're being honest. With the exception of Katara, kind of doesn't sit well with me. But I can tell that the writers in the room didn't want to drag it and mischaracterize it more than they kind of already were in very specific scenarios, like Toph calling Aang Avatar in one specific scene, which don't get me wrong, it's a nitpick once again because for me, I'm always used to her calling fucking Aang Twinkle Toes or some random bullshit nickname. Which don't get me wrong, later in the movie she does that anyway, so it didn't even matter. On a sense, it's kind of like a blessing and a curse that we didn't get more because on one end it's like, okay, with what we did have, it was good, but there could have been more. But I'm glad that y'all didn't do that because something tells me y'all would have fucked that up. I don't know, like I keep saying this, but I genuinely don't think it is the same writing team that we've gotten from the old series back in the day. Hell, it's not even the same voice actors. So I wouldn't be surprised if they changed up some of the writing team too, which honestly, I could just fact check that, but I don't feel like doing that because it's fucking midnight right now. And after I record this video, I'm probably gonna do some yoga and go to bed. Like, I think the main thing that people will need to understand is that from what we got, this was from what we got from the original team, which was barely anybody left. This was still a really good interpretation. I feel like their adult character models looked really fucking good. I think it sparked a whole new wave of fan art that's going to be seen on Twitter, Instagram, and Tumblr, and wherever you find your fan art at. And I think that generally it's still a good conclusion to the actual story of Team Avatar, or the gang. I'm saying gang as in GAANG. Gang. Avatar, Aang, and gang. You get the point. I think it's genuinely, even though a little bit slightly less anticlimactic from a character resolution standpoint, it's still one of the greater conclusions we could have gotten for them. Because don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that we couldn't have ended at where the series originally ended in book 3 chapter, or in book 3 for Fire. But I think that this movie served as book 4. Does that make sense? So you know how book 1 was Earth, or was book 1 water? I'm trying to remember. Book 1 was water, I'm pretty sure. Book 2 was Earth, and then book 3 was fire, right? The Avatar Aang movie was supposed to be book 4, air. Because how are you supposed to have all three? How are you supposed to have all 4 elements, but air doesn't have a book? That's what this movie was supposed to serve as. Because think about it. It's following the story of Aang, all the airbenders that came associated, the origins of airbending, It encapsulates everything. And the internal conflict of having to realize that your people just might be gone, which for AANG fucking sucks. Let's just start off with that. Holy hell. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you. Having to come to terms with the fact that your people might just be gone sucks ass. I can't even imagine putting myself in that position, bro. And honestly, genuinely, I don't know if there's any people on Earth that have suffered anything close to that besides the Native Americans in the North American region, if I'm being honest. Because even though there's significant, excuse me, that's farted. Even though there is significantly less Native Americans than there is any other population in America right now, I would say that Black people and Native Americans experience the most discrimination. Like, I've seen a video of Native American people being put in ICE containment camps. No matter what way you think about that, that's fucking ludicrous. Now, that's a really, I wouldn't say weird, but a random life to text connection, which if you don't know what a life to text connection is or a text to life connection is, you might need to go back to second grade reading. Being able to make that connection to real life events is very important, and I think that this was an unintentional, for lack of better terms, response from the movie. I don't think that they were intending to point out any specific regions of people or shit, if we're being honest, current conflicts that might be happening in West Asia, also known as the Middle East, that has a country named It Isn't Real. You know, not saying that it has anything to do with that, but I wouldn't be surprised if they were accidentally hinting at it, like, yo, this is happening right here. Or even what's going on in the Congo or Sudan, but that's neither here nor there. But this video is getting too long. We gotta wrap this up. Overall, my general viewing of this movie, I would say, is a solid, genuinely like 8.5 out of 10 movie. And even though I don't like doing number scales for movies, I genuinely just liked this movie a lot, and something tells me that I'm going to be rewatching it a lot, and I'm hoping that they have a physical release. Even though it's on Paramount, something tells me that's not happening. But if you liked this video, if you liked hearing me ramble about movies, don't worry, the Spider-Man movie is going to be coming right after. Right after this one, the Spider-Man movie is going to be right on the way. Please be sure to like and subscribe. It goes a long way for this channel. And even though the creator economy is crashing and niggas don't make money off this shit no more, I wouldn't be mad if y'all decided to give my little delusion a couple of more subscribers to go off of. You know what I'm saying? Be sure to follow the Switch down below. It should be linked in the description. If not, I'll fix that. I was going to link my Instagram, but I've been getting banned. You can find it if you want. Other than that, y'all have a fantastic day, and I'm going to have to catch y'all in the next one.